Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we react to Erik ten Hag's press conference for the Liverpool game. It's been a long wait to hear from Erik. He's been asked about Cristiano Ronaldo's future. He's been asked about the protests. He's been asked about signings. And I suppose some of those things could be misconstrued. Look, what he said about the Glazers, he's going to get criticised, but he's a new manager who admitted he doesn't really know the background of everything around that yet. So I'll cut him some slack. This is a manager I want at this club and I want him to do well. So what could he say really? But I think the big thing is he's thrown the players under the bus and I would applaud him for that. I'd applaud him for that. I mean, he's literally come out in a press conference and said, the players' attitude stunk last week, all of them, bad attitude. And you know what? Good. I was speaking to somebody this week about this and they were saying like, how long do you think it will be before Ten Hag gets the blame? And I said, but if you actually analyse the United support over the last 12 months, managers have been sacked. Solskjaer's gone and ultimately Rangnick's gone. But around Christmas time, the United fan base went, enough of the managers. The players are a disgrace. And it's the players who are they're not under as much pressure as the Glazers, but I think if you were ranking problems at United right now, yeah, you'd have the Glazers, yeah, you'd have Richard Arnold, you'd have John Murtough, but the players aren't far off that. Like, the players are not trusted, they're not liked as a collective, and, you know, I think there's got to be a lot of change at the football club before people start going after Ten Hag. They're very, very, very unhappy with the players, and so much so that the manager's only managed two competitive games, and he's already saying that the players have got a bad attitude. I mean, there's not many managers that can do that. There's not many managers that can do that. Can you imagine Louis van Gaal after 2 games, or Jose Mourinho after 2 games, or Pep Guardiola after 2 games coming out and saying these players have got a bad attitude? It's stunning, but it won't get the headlines because effectively Casemiro's a done deal. Antony's going to happen. We're trying to get the Glazers out. So there's a lot bigger things going on. But our managers just sat there in front of the world and said, these players have got a bad attitude. And, I suppose that's a response to the leaks about the players not being happy with the style of play, etc. Well, get back in your box because Ten Hag's come out and said the players have got a bad attitude. And I applaud that. You know, he's right. He is right. If we sign Casemiro and Milinkovic-Savic, our midfield would be tougher than a Witherspoon's pork chop, says Lee. Thanks for that, Lee. Casemiro is effectively a done deal, by the way. I think a lot of people are aware of that. I think we'll get the Here We Go very soon from Romano and Ornstein, and obviously we'll do a video reacting to that. But I think what I want to applaud the fan base for as well is that as much as Casemiro is welcome, the fan base is sort of like, yeah, I ain't falling for this. You know, I'm not buying a shirt. We're not Casemiro trending. We're not happy with the club. You've bought a really good player, well done, but you've done it because you're desperate. Get back in your box. Let's talk about the real issues here. So applaud you for that. Keep it up. Keep asking that. Press asking greater questions one at a time, says Connor Gibson. So yeah, let's just go through what was said. He was asked about the protest. I'll talk about that. He spoke about Ronaldo as well. There's some really interesting stuff actually. So reaction to last week, he said, look, obviously I wasn't very happy. We didn't have the right attitude from minute 1. You've got to bring it in every single game. So he was on about the attitude and how poor the attitude was yet again. And obviously Erik ten Hag has not been very happy this week. He was asked about Casemiro as well. He said, I've got no update on Casemiro because he's not signed yet. And therefore I don't speak about players that haven't signed. Elijah says, Antony was absent from training today. He was at the club but didn't train. I believe he's pushing for the move. Mark, you called this. Please cover this. Well, thank you, Elijah, for actually acknowledging that. Sirki, welcome to the Members Club. So we've been very fortunate on this channel to be very well informed on the Antony situation from very, very early, and we always have been. So if you go back to, I think it was June the 10th, we weren't really in for Antony in the press. A couple of Brazilian reports mentioned Antony to United. I'd been told, watch out, this is going to hit the UK press in the next few days, and it did. Antony wants to come to Manchester United. His agent wants to move him to Manchester United. And Ten Hag wants Antony at Manchester United. We tried to negotiate with Ajax in July. And Ajax said 80 million euros. And Man United walked. And Ajax were happy. And Antony couldn't do anything. Because effectively United said we're not paying 80 million euros. 65 million pounds. They said it was too much. Antony thought it was too much, but Ajax said, we don't think it is too much, and if they don't pay it, you're not going. So Antony was stuck. United have now gone back in and offered the £65 million, 80 million euros, which is too much. But Ajax have said no. And Antony's now lost it and said, hold on a minute, you're now blocking a move. That's not what Ajax is all about. Ajax, you let players go. They're not getting me on the cheap. The price is more than generous, and you're saying no. That's not fair. And that's where we are at the moment. And therefore, this is why these stories are coming out. I tweeted it last night as well. It's now getting picked up by the mainstream media again. Antony's not happy. European lad's not happy. I feel sorry for him, actually. But it was very obvious what was going to happen. United have put that offer in. They've offered too much, but we're desperate. So, I want Antony, so let's get the deal done. He's not worth £65 million, by the way. 50 million, okay. He's an Eredivisie winger. You don't pay £65 million for an Eredivisie winger. I'm sorry, you never should. You shouldn't be paying £50 million for an Eredivisie centre-back. I like Martinez and I really want Antony, but the prices are ridiculous. I think everyone has to admit that. But Antony is now in a situation where United have bid way over the asking price. Fair asking price. Ajax always set the asking price. But United have offered the 65 million, which is way over what he's worth. And Ajax are saying no. And Antony's agents are saying now, hey, come on, this is ridiculous now. You're actually forcing him to stay at the club when you've got a very good offer. So I think this will end one way. I think this will end with Antony forcing the move out of Ajax. And Ajax doing what Ajax do. They're a very, very good club. They're a very fair club and they understand their way in the world. You've got a ridiculously good offer on the table for Antony. I understand you don't want him to go, but, it's not what Ajax do. And Antony will say that. He will say, look, you're going to have to sell me at some point. When are you going to get £65 million offered for me again? It's way over what the value of me is realistically, and you're saying no to it. It's not fair. So ultimately, I can see this deal happening. Must watch video, Mark. You featured in it. Search Man United is toxic. Top video with tunes in the name, says Antony. Thank you very much. And happy to have upgrade, but I get Varane vibes here. He was great beside Modric and Kroos, but how will he be beside McFred? Says Michael Fetty. Well, look, on Casemiro, we're here to talk about Eric Ten Hag's press conference, but on Casemiro, I would say this. He is not a player that is going to necessarily work, but he's also world class. I think you've just got to wait and see what happens with him. But one thing I would say about Casemiro is he is a specialist centre defensive midfielder. I think with Frankie de Jong, if we'd played him as a CDM, I don't ever think you could play Frankie de Jong, Van der Beek and Eriksen, or de Jong, Eriksen and Bruno. There's not enough defensive cover. But you could play Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno. Because, all right, Eriksen and Bruno defensively aren't great, but when you've got a really good CDM, you could do that. So Casemiro opens up options that we have. I mean, we haven't had a CDM, really. Matic was unable to do it anymore. So we haven't had a CDM for 2 years. It should make a difference. It should. Anyway, bringing it back to what's important, Eric Ten Hag was asked about the Glazers and the protests. He basically, look, I want to defend him on this. The quote he came back was, the owners want to win. We want the fans behind the club. We need to be unified and fight together. Now, as a brand new manager coming into a football club, he wants stability and he wants to get on with his job. He's walked into all sorts of issues. A crap transfer window, Ronaldo issue, all sorts of crap players with a bad attitude. He's now walked into a situation where there's somebody wanting to buy our club that most of the fans want, and the Glazers nobody wants. And he's employed by the Glazers. And he gets asked a question about the protests. He's basically said, he's been positive about the owners. He said the owners want to win. And he said the best thing basically is that we're unified and we're all fighting together. But he also did say, I'm not up to speed with everything that goes on. And what he's basically saying is he's not educated on the issues with the Glazers and the fans and everything like that. He cannot comment on them anyway, because he can't sit there and say, yes, we love these protests, let's get Sir Jim Radcliffe in. He can't do that. He's paid and employed by the Glazers. If you want to have a pop at Ten Hag for not coming out and saying Glazers out, well, Sir Alex Ferguson's on the board. He knows this club. He knows what Sir Matt Busby did. He knows this club like the back of his hand. He's sat on the board, paid by the Glazers. So we're not going to criticise Sir Alex, and we're certainly not going to criticise Ten Hag. They're employed by the Glazers in this current situation. It's a bit difficult for them. But I think what Ten Hag does need to do is not listen to the club's communications expert, because they're employed by the Glazers as well. I'd advise that he independently goes and researches these problems so that when he gets asked in the future, he doesn't come out with anything that's going to be perceived as offensive, like the Glazers. You know, remember Ollie when the fans broke into Carrington and he said they're good guys and everything like that. That we don't want to hear that. We do not want to hear that. I love Erik ten Hag. I want him to be our manager, but I cannot, and no fan's going to put up with him telling us the Glazers are good. Like, Eric's been here 5 minutes. We've had these owners for 17 years. They're not good for this football club. There is an opportunity here. There's an opening in the door to try and force them out. We may not be able to do it, but there is an opportunity, and we have to be behind that. And whatever Eric says about unified and fighting together, not with the Glazers, Eric. No. They've had their chance. With you, yes. Not with the Glazers. So, yeah, he's the less is more, I think, on this, because there's nothing he can say, and anything he says positive about the Glazers is just going to rile people. So I think independently, somebody needs to get hold of Ten Hag and say, don't listen to the club on what you need to say about the Glazers, because you don't want to be coming across as pro-Glazers. You've got to answer these questions very, very carefully. Glazers out. Don't forget what's important, says Kevin. 100%. Can't expect him to speak out against his employers in his first season. Safest thing for him to plead ignorance on the situation. Yeah, Joshua. Hi Mark, do you think a 3-5-2 line would work? Lindelof, Martinez and Varane in the back and putting 5 players on midfield for more presence, says Killen. Well, we're going to do the preview tomorrow. I was going to do the preview last night, but I think it's a bit early. And unfortunately, it's a real shame that we didn't get any team news on injuries, because I don't know who's fit. We don't know whether Lindelof and Martial are back. We think they are. Mark, do you think with all these spendings and we start getting results, will the fans get distracted from Glazers out, says Kevin. And sorry, what was that? Do you think with all these spending and we start getting results? It's a danger, Kevin. I can't answer that question. I think it's a very good question. I've seen Glazers out trend nearly every year in the summer transfer window for a decade, and then the season starts, they buy some players and everyone gets quiet again. Unfortunately, we're only responsible for ourselves. I am going to try my hardest, and I will succeed. I will keep at this until I'm annoying everybody and everyone's saying, "Oh, shut up about the Glazers. We're doing well under Ten Hag." And if that happens, I'll take the criticism. But I cannot let this go. I said if we had a viable buyer, I would put everything into it. I'll put everything into it. And I might end up being a minority, and I might end up annoying all of you. But I won't let this drop this time. And I know a lot of people feel the same. For me, it was always about having a viable buyer. We have. I just can't believe our fans would be mugged off by Casemiro and Antony and everybody else. I mean, I still think that they might get Casemiro, De Jong and Antony. But remember this, and this is worth clipping and putting out there. If you're thinking about being impressed and giving the Glazers a chance because they buy Antony, Casemiro and De Jong, remember this, they're not buying them. It's not their money, it's your money. They're spending the money of the club that should be spent. They're doing the job they should have been doing for the last 17 years. They're spending the revenue this football's club had in bucket loads. We should be buying these sort of players like Chelsea do every year. Do not be impressed by the Glazers writing big cheques for big players. Analyse it. They're doing it in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window because they're desperately trying to stop you, force them out of the club. A week ago, they were trying to buy Rabiot and Arnautovic. They're now trying to buy Casemiro and Antony. What's changed? Panic. Arnautovic and Rabiot are cheap. Antony, Casemiro, De Jong are expensive. Why have they suddenly changed their mind? Because they realise they might be on the way out. So they're trying to buy back your support. But remember, they're not buying your support. They're using your money to buy players we should have been going for all along. They don't spend money. We're in debt. £500 million in debt. They've spent between £1 and £2 billion on debt repayments and dividends. Yes, we've spent £1 billion on players in the last 10 years. We, Manchester United, if we didn't have the Glazers, we would have had over £2.5 billion to spend on the club, the stadium and everything else. People don't understand this. External people don't understand this. The Glazers have not spent £1 billion in the last 10 years. Manchester United have spent £1 billion in the last 10 years because Manchester United have created that money through their own revenue streams. The Glazers have taken over £1 billion in debt repayments and dividends. They bleed this club dry. So when you think, oh, the Glazers have bought Casemiro, they haven't. They're just using the club's money in the way it should be used. Think on. They're a bunch of scammers. Do you think Casemiro's speed is too slow with Maguire and his declining age? It raises a concern for speed. He's a midfielder, Stephen. He's not going to play a high line. Eric Ten Hag, he's getting paid by the Glazers, so ain't nobody going to call down their boss who wants you to do their job and pay your wages. Fans are different. We say what we want because we don't get paid by them, says Ray. Hi, Mark. Someone threw scalding chicken soup down the well. Was it you? So thank you, says Jim. And what is Casemiro, De Jong and Antony get done so we push for top 4 in Champions League to get a better price for United, says Josh Reynolds. Mate, I'm not interested in... What you're saying there, Josh, is let's be happy about De Jong and Casemiro and Antony because if we get top 4, the Glazers get more money. I'm not waiting till next May. We're not waiting till May. We've got a buyer now. Somebody wants to buy us now. We can't wait till next May. This is exactly what the Glazers do. They did it with the Super League. What did they do after the Super League? Liverpool Man United was cancelled. Protests everywhere. The Glazers were terrified. What did they do? What did they do? They did a Zoom call. They promised a share scheme and renovation of Manchester United and buying of players. All right, they bought some players, but that's the club's money anyway. Where's the renovation of Manchester United a year ago? Old Trafford a year later. Where's the share scheme a year later? Classic Glazer tactics are to buy time. You will get, over the next few days, the Glazers are thinking about selling, probably next summer. So everyone goes, oh, they're going to go next summer. It's fine, they'll go next summer. Let's forget about it. Let's just leave it. Next summer, everything's okay, but we're not selling. They've got to be forced out. They've got to be forced out. And if you're not going to do it, then they're going to be here for a long time. And your kids and your friends and the next generations are going to suffer under the Glazers exactly like we are now. If you tolerate this, then your children will be next. Now is the time. It is. And it's whether people want to do something about it or not. Jack, well said, Mark. Thank you, Josh. Jack. Okay, let's move on with the press conference anyway. He was asked about Ronaldo. So on Ronaldo, he said, why is the focus on Ronaldo? It was the whole team's attitude that wasn't great against Brentford, including Ronaldo's. He was then asked if Ronaldo will be here on the 2nd of September. He said, he's in our plans. That's what I keep saying. So all this stuff about Ten Hag wants to sell Ronaldo. I mean, I was glad he was asked about Ronaldo today because every time Ten Hag gets asked about Cristiano Ronaldo, he says, he's part of my plans, he's not for sale, I like the player. He says it in different ways, but he says it every time. And yet people on social media keep putting it out there that Ten Hag wants to sell Ronaldo. And we're meant to believe that he's lying in public because really he wants to sell him. Have you ever thought that if he sat there and said Ronaldo's for sale, people would come in with offers? And you're also calling the manager a liar. When are people going to understand that you're being fed lies? You're being fed lies by the media about Ronaldo. He's even said it himself. Yes, I'm sure Ronaldo does want to leave, but Ten Hag has consistently said he's part of his plans. He doesn't want to sell him. He's not for sale. That doesn't mean he won't go, but this nonsense that Ten Hag wants to sell him. So we've got a liar as a manager now, have we? What benefit is it for Ten Hag to keep saying he's not for sale, he's not for sale, he's not for sale? It's not like clubs are queuing up for him. If you wanted to sell Ronaldo, the best thing you could do is say, look, if we get a reasonable offer, he can go. Because suddenly clubs will go, oh, he is for sale. It makes no sense for Ronaldo for Ten Hag to keep lying. Comment on Klopp trashing Gabi Agbonlahor says mad. You know what? In fairness, I listened to what Klopp had to say, and he said that he heard some bad comments about Manchester United players' attitude, and I'm not defending Gabi Agbonlahor in any way or shape or form, but I mean, I just think that's clever by Klopp, to be honest. What Klopp is basically saying is that, Brentford played really well, which they did, and people slating Man United players' attitudes are wrong. Our manager's just come out and slated their attitude. So I think Klopp's a genius. I think he's a fantastic manager, but I think he's actually playing a game there where he's trying to say, people are slating the United team like they're a disgrace, this, that and the other. But actually, Brentford were really good. These things can happen. I think that's a load of nonsense, but it's not a load of nonsense. We were a disgrace last week. Have you seen any highlights of academy player Gavin, a highly talented, reckon he could get a call up to the first team squad, says Cliff. And instead of 1 billion debt from the leveraged buyout, we could have taken out a low interest loan to renovate Old Trafford and Carrington. Exactly what Spurs have done, says Alex. Mark, if we get Casemiro, Antony and maybe a right back, do you think we are good to get top 4, says Prince? Mate, I'll be honest with you, Prince. I give not a shit about whether United get top 4 this season. I don't care. I can only be honest with you. I've got no interest in whether United are going to get top 4 this year if we buy Antony, Casemiro and everything else. And I'll tell you why. I'll watch the games. I'll react to the transfers. I'll talk to you about how we played. I want Ten Hag to do well. But I have never known an opportunity like this since the Glazers have been here in 17 years. You want me to talk about our chances for top 4. You want me to talk about how excited I am about spending money. I'm not. I'm not excited about either of them. They are occurrences that we need to process and you know, we can analyse. But my passion at the moment is 100%. I will happily finish mid-table if the Glazers leave. I would. And we've got to grab the opportunity. Hi Mark, if we somehow get Antony, do you think we will see the end of Rashford? Antony would come with a big fee and Sancho is much better than him on the left, says Michael. Mark, if we get Casemiro, Antony and maybe we've done that one as well. A lot of people talking to me about something. We've had a Fabrizio Romano tweet. Let me have a quick look. I imagine it's deal done, to be honest. Oh, no, it's to do with Antony. Ajax are discussing internally about Antony. There's a chance for the Brazilian star to be left out of the starting 11 on Sunday. Man United bid rejected, but the player wants the move. Antony was at training ground today, but only went to the gym, not working with the team. Well, slow sports news, Fabrizio. It's very rare that we're ahead of the great Fabrizio Romano, but if you've been watching the show for the last 20 minutes, literally spoke to you about that 20 minutes ago. As I said, we've been very fortunate on Antony and this summer. And thank God, because I've been ahead of the game. We've been ahead of the game with Sterling by a long way, ahead of the press on that. We've been ahead of the game on Tielemans to Arsenal, if it actually happens. United's been really hard this summer, but the one player that we've had really good info on has always been Antony. Been watching throughout the summer, said this ages ago. He's desperate to come to United. His agent wants the move. And as you can see, Fabrizio's just confirmed what we were talking about 20 minutes ago. This looks like it'll be a deal that happens. And I really want us to get Antony because he is a prime... he's an option A for Ten Hag. And if he's not getting Timber and he's not getting Nunez and he's not getting De Jong, then at least if he gets Antony, we're actually going to get a player where if he flops, you can say, well, that's the player Ten Hag wants. So, yeah, I think it will happen now with Antony. I really, really do. Mark, why were you against job for the boys while Ten Hag does the same with his signings, former player, Ajax player, says Johnson. Johnson, I would suggest in future you do a little bit of research before you start exposing yourself because I don't know what you're talking about. Jobs for the boys. I think what you're saying is I've been very critical of United handing jobs to the boys because the Glazers gave Woodward and Arnold the job who helped them buy the club who aren't football people. And I think you're trying to compare that to Ten Hag buying people that he knows. Well, it's completely different. Like the Glazers are employing bankers to run the football club, and Ten Hag is going for players that he knows. What you're adding 2 and 2 and you're getting 5. Like I don't get what you're on about there. It's completely unrelated. Mark, when you talk about the Glazers, you give me goosebumps. Your passion is brilliant, and you give me hope we can force change, says Ian. Well, I hope everybody picks up on these positive vibes. There is an opportunity. I can't say it's going to be successful, but I won't bullshit and I won't lie about this. If we were protesting on Monday and there was no chance of anyone buying, I'd be like, well, fair play for the protest, but we haven't got a buyer. We've got a bloody buyer. We've got a buyer for this fucking football club. We've got to grab this opportunity. And look, I see a lot of people the same, some more passionate about this. And all I can say is, from the bottom of my heart, when I'm hearing stories about Antony that I like and Casemiro, who's world class, it's not changing me. I'm not getting kidded. There's nothing changing inside. It's not lessening my desire to get the Glazers out. It's not lessening my desire to see change at this football club. It's not working anymore. And their plans that they've tried before, where they just chuck money at the problem and try and shut us up, I don't think it's going to work. Casemiro is very welcome. Antony's very welcome. But I would hope that their shirts are not going to sell. I would hope that people aren't going to go and buy the shirts. I mean, what type of United fan is going to go into the megastore or on the website and buy a Casemiro shirt? Knowing what we know, knowing that the Glazers, we can get them out, knowing we've got a buyer. Who's going to do that? Of course, some people are going to do that, and I'm not saying don't do it, but I would say if you are going to do it, what's going on in your head? Please come on the show and explain it. I would love to know what would possess a Man United fan to go and buy a Casemiro shirt over this weekend. Why would you do it? What part of supporting this football club would make you do that? And I'm not saying you don't do it. I don't believe in telling people what to do. But I'd love to know what part of your brain thinks it's a good idea. When the Glazers are on the ropes and we've got a buyer, you want to chuck money into the club. You know, I definitely will not be doing it. Ten Hag has got to be careful. I know the Glazers are his employers, but he's better off not commenting than supporting them because the fans will turn on him quick, says Sean. Yeah, Ten Hag needs to get educated very, very quickly. This is the sort of thing that even Solskjaer got absolutely slated for, a club legend. So on the Glazers, get to know it about it, Eric, very, very quickly, and then just give a very, very short answer on it. I mean, personally, what would I have said if I was the manager of United and they asked me about the protests on Monday? I would have just come out with something like this. Look, at the end of the day, we all want Manchester United to be successful, but the fans have a right to protest. I'm not 100% versed on everything that's gone on at the club in the last 17 years because I've only just taken the job. But everyone's got the right to protest, and as long as they do it safely and everybody's, everyone, that's just the way it is. Even I've answered that too long. The best answer is just to say, look, everyone's got the right to protest. The most important thing for me is winning on the pitch. Over. That's the best answer, isn't it? Hi Mark, is it possible for the Glazers to let Jim Radcliffe control signings, hiring while they remain in charge, or do they have loyalty towards Murta and Arnold? No, that won't happen, Chian, I don't think. Do you think the Glazers won't sell immediately because the share price is so low, says George? And I have never seen an opportunity like this to get the Glazers out, says Quinton. We will go nowhere if we don't get them out now. The time has come for a change, says Quinton. And I think that's what's driving a lot of people, you know. I do think that that's what's driving a lot of people. And the reason that is so important, what Quinton says, is because in 6 months' time, if Simon Stone does a story saying Sir Jim Radcliffe is no longer interested in buying Manchester United because they're clearly not up for sale and the Glazers are here for the next 20 years, the opportunity is gone. That's what scares me. That's what scares me, that we miss the opportunity. And as I said, people keep tagging me in stuff, people slagging me off and stuff like that. And I'm like, I really don't care. I've got no interest. I might have done in the past. I might have bitten in the past. I ain't got no interest in that, because the minute I start replying and getting into petty squabbles about Forest fan and all this bollocks is the minute that the Glazers win, because it's divide and conquer. They want us to argue with ourselves. So if somebody hasn't got the mental capacity to realise that fighting with other United fans at the moment is actually being pro-Glazer, let them run away with it. Ignore them. There's absolutely no benefit at this time to be arguing about who the captain is or who's a better fan or all this or that. The time now is an opportunity that everybody will benefit from if we can get the Glazers out of the club. Hi Mark, hope you're well. You can wish my gorgeous Princess Nicola Russell a happy birthday. She's the best. She beat the lot. She's the best. Lost the lot. I thought this is the beat. I thought it was going somewhere else. She's the best. Lots of love, Jeddo and Molly Mitchell. There you go, Nicola. What a lovely message from Jed. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Make sure you subscribe, by the way. Bottom right-hand corner. 1 minute, I'm just going to send a message. God, why can't you type when you want to type quick? That. So what else? So he was asked about. This was a good one. I mean, so At one end of the interview, Erik ten Hag was saying that the attitude was bad from all the players. It's about the right attitude, and I didn't see it from minute one. And then he was asked about, is it hard to motivate the players? And he said, no, we've worked really well on the training pitch. So there's clearly a contrast here, and this is something we've seen ourselves. When they're training pre-season or during the week, they train really, really well. Their motivation in training is very, very good. And then they go out onto the pitch and they have a bad attitude from minute one. So I found this really interesting. You've got the manager of Man United saying that their motivation and training is really, really good. And then when they go out on the pitch, their attitude stinks from minute one. What's that all about? I'll tell you what it's all about. It's about finishing second in an empty stadium and then finishing sixth when the crowd come back, or being bottom of the league when there's crowds. This squad are weak. When there's no pressure and there's no fans and they're on the training ground, yeah. They're masters of the training ground. I remember talking to Incy about this, and he was telling me some players who were crap, and he said, on the training ground, world class. He said, I've seen it all my career. World class players on the training ground, shit on a Saturday afternoon. Bad trainers, world class on a Saturday afternoon. He said, you know, you get some people who are brilliant in training and brilliant on a Saturday, but training ground to Saturday afternoon or whenever you play, yeah. And I think United have got this problem as well, which is why when we played in empty stadiums, it was like a training ground exercise and we did quite well. It's called weak mentality players, blame shifters, cowards, whatever you want to call it. This set of players are just not capable of dealing with pressure, and unfortunately, when you play for Manchester United, you've got to be able to deal with pressure. I mean, I remember great Man United teams in the past, and some of you will be old enough to remember this. I remember Man United going to Selhurst Park when Wimbledon used to play there against Vinnie Jones and all that lot, and it'd be a horrible pitch, it'd be a horrible atmosphere, and we go and beat them 3-1 because you wouldn't be able to play football against them. You'd have to beat them in a fight before you beat them at football, and it would be rough, and the tackles would be flying in. But you'd have Cantona and Hughes and Ince and Keane and Bruce and Pallister who could mix it up as well as be world class. So yeah, we are miles off. So it is. I mean, I think I sometimes think some people think, well, you've been unfair on the players because it's hard. It's not. Man United have always had that steel and strong mentality to go with the quality. Even people like Ryan Giggs and David Beckham could mix it up. They could put a tackle in. They could get involved in a bit of a scuffle. We've just lost the identity of the football club. We used to have world-class players who could fight on the pitch. Now you've got people like Scott McTominay who can fight, but are championship standard. And then you've got people who are world-class but can't fight. The mix of that squad's terrible. As much as I appreciate people writing in the chat, Glazer's out, make a Twitter account and share Glazer out there as well. We need to keep this going, says Ronald Jacob. It's time to sell. Do not care who we sign or how we perform this season. Time for change and take the garbage called Glazers to the dump, says Baron. What are your thoughts on Casemiro? Does the CDM work with Ten Hag's system, says Patrick. Fabrizio just gave the here we go for Casemiro, says Scott. Did he? I don't think he did. No, he's speaking about Antony. I don't think it's going to be far off, but he hasn't done it yet. I think the big challenge... Oh, no. He has done it. Okay, he has done it. That's great. So... where is it? There we go. There was something I was going to say just before that. What was I going to say? You've made me forget. Yeah, the big challenge that we have is this. If Man United start winning games, then we are in big trouble, aren't we? If Man United stop winning games, then... Sorry, if Man United start winning games... Say we bought Casemiro, we buy Antony, we buy maybe even De Jong, and we start winning games, do you think this fan base is still going to be Glazers out? That is the big question. Can this fan base take this opportunity even when money's being spent on players and we start doing well on the pitch? Can this fan base defy the positivity that will be thrown at us by the Manchester United PR machine, by the players, by the manager? Because that's what you're going to have to be against. You're going to have the manager, the player, the club, and the performances on the pitch all doing really well, whilst knowing there's a buyer that can get the Glazers out. Can you keep that going when we start doing well on the pitch? Because the players aren't interested in Glazers out. They're clearly not going to come and do anything. The manager's employed by them. He's clearly focused on his job on the pitch. The PR machine's going to be positive with winning team pictures. That's when you'll be tested. Imagine we win our next 4 games in a row. We sign De Jong, Casemiro and Antony. The team starts doing well. Man United post "here we go" pictures. Everyone's smiling. And I reply, "get the Glazers out. We need a new owner." Imagine the shit I might get. Oh, stop being so negative. That's where the battle will be. That is the battle that I don't know whether we can win. And that is where we need to be really careful. Mark, if Frankie doesn't come, can I have your shirt for a bit of 90% club memorabilia? Ross, I've got it here. So the legendary t-shirt, which I actually wore. It may be the only one printed. We'll see. It's not looking good, is it? Honestly, the speed of this deal making me more mad than happy because it's proof that they could do if they want to. Yeah, same as Ronaldo last year, Gergo. Don't let the Casemiro signing distract us from the fact that we have a real opportunity to kick the Glazers out, says Jonathan. We should not forget Glazers out, even though we got Casemiro, says Akshay. And that will be the challenge. Can you keep that up? Can you keep it up? I'm really interested to see if you can, because ultimately that is where we're going to get tested here. Can we keep this momentum going at Manchester United? But a lot of people are saying that it's crazy how fast Manchester United can do a deal when it's crazy how fast Manchester United can do a deal when there is real danger of them losing their way, I suppose. But there we go. Anyway, look, we've got a reaction video to Casemiro, so make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner, smash a like on the video. Adam's ready to do the reaction to Casemiro. He's got all the detail on it. It's very weird that we go from a press conference to a reaction of a done deal, but we have got a done deal from Fabrizio Romano for Casemiro, so we're going to go and do that live now, and I will push you all over there. So thanks for watching. I'm back at 8 o'clock tonight. We've got a live reaction to Casemiro. My live reaction is this. You can do what you like with it. Casemiro's world class. Welcome to Manchester United. Now let's get back to the job of getting the Glazers out. And that's what every United fan, I would hope, will think as well. If we're meant to be running out to buy shirts and saying we're going to get top 4 and be happy, fuck off. Seriously, this is not a drill. I said it yesterday. It's not a drill. There is an opportunity to get these people out of our football club, to not have a banker as the CEO, to not have John Murtagh doing the job because he's been there for years, to bring real expertise and professionalism to the club. And we're meant to sweep that under the carpet because they've just gone and bought a player in 3 days when they've done nothing for 3 months. See it for what it is. Anyway, Adam's going to react to the Casemiro deal. We'll see you over there in a minute.